Good morning, everybody. It is Monday. Ooh, stretch and yawn. There we go. That's a bit better. Holy shit. I think a lot of people in this country are going to be waking up this morning very, very hungover and or tired or both, whatever. I mean, I don't think anybody who was watching the rugby last night is feeling like great this morning. Not because we didn't win, because we did, but because...
Barely.
I mean, what's wrong with these guys doing it on a Sunday night at 9 o'clock? Really? Honestly. Outrageous. Yeah. I bet you... So now we're into the semi-finals. And I just think we've got to write off any of this Monday morning stuff if we're doing Sunday again. Really. Just outrageous.
Exactly. Let's just take a break off Mondays. Guys, bosses, I hope you're listening.
Yeah, it should not be allowed, right?
Should we offer that we work on Saturdays to compensate?
What a shit idea that is. What do you
want? Why are you offering?
Are you trying to make enemies on purpose, Leigh-Ann? What the hell? Huh?
I'm just rocking the boat.
We had talk about following the rules. Let me just add another day to my week. No, we want a day off.
Rocking the boat. You're looking to be cancelled. You carry on talking like this.
Yeah, it is that bad.
All right. So, what did you do? Because my sister-in-law sent me pictures. They were all at a friend's house. This friend who clearly has a big bar in their house. I mean, it looks like a pub inside of this friend of theirs house. I mean, it's like there were 20 people in this room. The photo that she sent. I'm like, wow, this guy has like an incredible house for watching the sport in. Yeah. They were out there and they would have only got home, around 11, somewhere around there.
They left immediately. That's what are the chances of that?
So I looked at this. I was at home. I did not even listen. I knew I had to wake up for this thing, and also, I'll be honest with you. I was like following it on the internet, which is really lame. So I'm not the best person to comment on this, but my God, talk about a slim margin. Hey, 1 point difference between us and France. Even for a professed non-sports fan, that's nail-biting stuff.
Yeah.
It's absolutely extraordinary. So, as Charlene says, happy Babalas Springbok Monday to all celebrating.
It is what it is.
Nick says, Monday did not get in the way of Sunday. Good. And Bongi says, good morning, everybody. But you can almost hear in Bongi's voice like a bit of a hangover.
Like he dragged himself out of bed.
Where did you watch it?
I watched it at my place. So, yeah, I was watching it on the DSTV because turns out I have free DSTV. So I watched it. Pretty great. Nice. But like the TV, guys, I don't know what channel this stuff plays on. There's like Supersport Grand Central, Supersport Variety. There's so many Supersports. I don't get it anymore. What happened to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? Like what happened to the numbers? Why do we have like different names?
Do they have different names for them? You see, I know nothing about
like this. It's like Supersport Grandstand, Supersport something, and then like Variety 4, Variety 1, Supersport. I don't know.
Oh my word.
When people start doing stuff like that, you just know that they're paying too many people to like sit in meetings, right?
Yeah, there's too much thinking going on.
Yeah, just you know what, guys? It's really simple. Like you are I think maybe the best in the world, but you're one of the best sports channels that exist. You've got that down. I mean, you've had it down for like the last 20 years. SuperSport. It's been one of the best channels in the world to watch any live sport of any kind. Don't mess with it. Just do what you do. It's like some new management comes in and they're like, well, we've got to make our mark on this. No, you don't. Because when you leave, someone else will come and erase your mark anyway. That's how it works in like companies. So how about you just put the stuff on and do what you are absolutely expected to do, nothing more. Wasn't a game not to watch on the internet. On TV-ish was nerve-wracking, sweating my balls out, says Simon. Yeah,
it was.
Well, I mean, Louis watched it from a laptop in a guest house room, traveling for work, and that's the only way I could watch. It is cool though that you've got all these different options to watch things on. Like before, if you didn't have like DSTV and a television in the room that you're in, you just miss out, right?
Mhm.
So the TV conked out, right? I don't know what happened to my DSTV
Oh,
connection.
no.
I ended up
What time?
watching on the SABC app. So like this was like 20 minutes left. Ended up watching on no. It was really great, except that it had
Hang on.
Afrikaans commentary. It was like, yeah, it was like, yeah.
There's an SABC app.
Yes, SABC Plus.
No.
You can watch. I don't know what's on SABC. You can watch whatever's on SABC 1, 2, and 3 live
SABC
right now.
app.
Yeah.
I don't believe you.
It's really great. I don't know how good it is. I think Leigh-Ann bashed it that other time, said it was it gets overloaded, but the library on that thing. Like the SABC
I haven't looked at it
app.
since then. That's amazing.
No. I watched the game live there with all that Afrikaans and everything. It was like,
Was there no option to change it?
No, the commentary jumps around because at some point the guy will be like, "You are right, Yaku. Go Kolomtu," and then he starts speaking closer. And then some guy is speaking Pedi. I'm like, wait, are they all in just one room? And Yaku's like, well put. I'm like, no, no one understood a word of that.
So again, like I just have to point this out to everybody, is that whenever something like this happens, suddenly you have people who everybody is convincing us all the time, especially the politicians. They're always telling us, "Oh no, these people and those people will never be together." So like you suddenly see like most of the venues around South Africa that were open last night and showing the rugby. It was like a mix of everybody. You could just see the old, the young. You could see the black, the white. You could see the Afrikaans, the English, the Xhosa, the Zulu, everything. People just mixed up as hell. That's the real country we live in, right?
Yep.
And even these politicians, they realize like this stuff is so powerful that even it can get people like me and Leigh-Ann who really don't care about sport. It can get us into the same room as someone like Ben who loves sport, right? And they are so desperate, these politicians, to be relevant that they will. What did Ace Magashule put out? Like, go Boca, 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 or so. Ace Magashule.
Go Boca.
Ace, like, we need to hear from him about rugby, Yes. But he realizes, like, this is a very, very powerful way for him to be super relevant just for a minute. And if there's anything you could see right through a politician for, it's like that opportunism. They are just always looking for a place that they can make themselves relevant. And it shows you, like, they're now the ones who are hooking themselves up to the car that is like the real South Africa. Before, we used to hook ourselves up to their cars, like the politicians would lead us. There none of these politicians are leaders anymore.
Yeah, like they don't have a dream.
I kind of wish they wouldn't worry so much about that and the aesthetics of it, and just like solve water crises and electricity problems. That would be nice.
What you're talking about is like a basic competence. Did you see this idiot? Let me play a video of this guy. And by the way, this guy is like, he turns out to be even less charming, even less effective, and less liked than Gedlehlekisa. I'm talking about our current president. Okay, take a look at this guy. And you made a point, like there's a picture of Madiba holding the Webb Ellis Trophy. There's a picture of Thabo Mbeki holding it. There's a picture of Jacob Zuma holding it. Now, Cyril, if we win this, it'll be 4 out of 4 for these presidents. All right. Yeah. So, but it would be nice if he knew who the coach was.
By the way, we're coming to the final, and I expect to lift the trophy when I come to start Paris, the stadium there. So I've already booked my ticket. I will be at the final.
So then we have to endure moments of silence while we listen to the coach talking back to him, but we can't actually hear them. blah, blah, blah. So, by the way, he's talking to Jacques Nienaber, but he thought he was talking to Rassie Erasmus.
Well, I'll be there.
This
The
man.
Webb Ellis Trophy is for us to bring back to South Africa for the fourth time. It is ours. Thank you very much, and be strong, be well.
You know, he sees like a shiny golden thing, and like anyone in the ANC, he just wants to take it. That's what it's pure kleptomania. It's like
It's like a kleptocracy.
I saw the other presidents with that shiny gold thing. Now I want to take it as well.
Mine.
You just tell me. So like he's got somebody who's like a very tangential fan, like filling him in on things like the Webb Ellis Trophy and who the coach is, and that person's not really that clued up. But I love it. He's talking as if he books his own tickets. He's like,
Yes.
I went
And pays for them.
I went on the internet and I booked my own ticket. It's going. I'm flying to the Stade de Paris. It's called the Stade de France, you idiot. Even I know that. And you can't.
Oh, it's very cringy.
Anyway,
Yeah.
you know what? I mean, we'll even suspend disbelief. If we could win this, it would be so good for South Africa's morale. That's all. It would be so good. And we so desperately need a win because all of these guys are such losers that and they've made us feel like losers about everything, right? Like,
Wait, did you call them a bunch of losers, Gareth?
a bunch of losers. They really are. It's like Leigh-Ann says, like, you know, streets are exploding in Johannesburg. We got water and electricity. But these guys are like, I'm going to book my ticket. I'm coming for the final. And what are we meant to go? Oh, Hercules. We're so excited that Cyril's coming to the final. Oh, I can't wait.
It's just like last week when I pointed out Zizi Kodwa, the only thing about black coffee he could mention, she's like, oh, I'm coming to, I can't come. No one cares.
Please.
No one cares.
So I see our friend Alan Ford was at the game on Sunday. Yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
And he was sitting, from the looks of things, he was sitting right next to Mama Joy. So
With the in crowd.
We'll have to ask Alan if Zizi Kodwa's paid for his seats as well.
Yeah, exactly. Maybe he's in on it.
Yeah, absolutely. What a bunch of fools. Anyway, mediocre ass clown losers, says Boyle. You know, that's a fairly accurate. Yeah, I think that's a fairly accurate way to put it. Yeah, that's pretty good.
Like you're firing on all cylinders early in the morning.
I did see something funny though. I saw Musi Maimane said, "Please, Mr. President, don't call the coach again. We very nearly lost because of that. Just stay away from." Okay, finally, he's also being funny for a change because I mean he's got a sense of humor like a box of children's toys.
Yeah, like a dry piece of bread.
He really, I mean, like you say lots of nice things about Musi, and I don't personally have any gripe with him, but sense of humor, like he's not known for dropping highly comedic lines. Let's just put it that way. All right, Cyril will steal wallets at the stadium.
Oh my gosh, iPads.
Yeah, it's stolen my iPad. I'll never forget that. How pathetic. All right. So listen, we do have actual stuff to get to this morning. Apparently, Leigh-Ann, you took part in a quiz night with your colleagues. Yes. Now, this is a fun thing to do. I mean, quiz nights are actually really, really good fun, provided you don't like get 0 out of 100 or whatever, because it's so shit to lose. Like anytime you just lose, it's no fun. How did you do?
Well, firstly, it was a virtual quiz night because we're based all over the country and the world. But it's, I don't know if you've ever done an online one. It's like very professionally done. You have a host, these two hosts were set up in 4 ways, I think. And they have like Lumo lights behind them and music.
Wow.
And yeah, they put on this whole radio voice. Right, guys, welcome to the quiz.
Find out who they are. They must do it for us one morning. We'll do it. We'll do a live quiz on the show that morning, just before Christmas or something. That'll be fun.
Okay.
So, firstly, I pitched up 15 minutes late because I thought it was from 5:30 on Friday, but it was 5:15. So I got shoved into a team at the last minute, and
like, oh, that chick who comes late all the time.
But like in Leigh-Ann's defense, who starts something at 5:15? Like you only started like at either at the o'clock or 1:30.
Exactly. And I looked at my calendar and I was just looking at it where it's in that like blocked out format, and it's so close to 5:30 that's what I thought. Anyway, got in there, and no time for introductions, just went straight into the questions. And you use I dialed in from my phone, so you have to answer questions on your phone, and you'd go into your different little pods and you discuss and all the rest of it. Anyway, we got to the final round and they said it's make or break for one of the teams, and it was our team that won. So we actually won the whole thing, which was amazing. Yes.
Here's a quick question. How do they prevent you guys from Google?
Wait. I'm sorry, I've just come hot off of a big trivia here.
Yeah. Answer his question first, and I'll get to.
How do they prevent you from Googling answers?
They don't. It's based on trust.
Oh, yeah.
But also, you would feel your team, you're not going to have the whole team agreeing to Google stuff. And we're so used to doing things virtually and, playing games and things like that, that we just don't cheat.
Okay, well, Ryan is also on your side. Who starts something at 5:15? That's kind of crazy.
Exactly.
You probably need 15 minutes to get everyone settled down and teach them how it works and all that stuff. So you start this properly at like past, but you need those 15 minutes. So were you any use to them because you arrived late?
I was, definitely, especially in the last round. So I think I may have taken us over the line.
Oh, wow.
Oh, look at you, and sports metaphors.
Yes. There were sports questions too, and I was able to help out with some of those.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty
nail biting stuff.
And it was a cash prize.
Ooh.
How much?
I don't know, because they announced that in the beginning when I wasn't there. So I don't know. Do I just keep watching my bank account, wait for the thousands to roll in?
Well, you hope it's like, what if it's like a really big prize and you can afford to go on the most luxurious holiday at the end of this year?
Oh, my word.
How about that?
Look, judging from my company, it's probably going to be like 200 Rand or 500 Rand voucher or something.
Hey, you could buy 3 eggs with that.
Yes, this is true.
All eggs.
Like maybe an Evo and 3 eggs.
So I realized this egg thing, and I know this is going to make me very unpopular, but who the hell gives a damn about that? I don't eat a lot of eggs, so this egg crisis has not affected me at all. Ben was so pissed off the other day, and rightly so. I mean, he eats a lot of eggs. I don't. So I'm honestly not missing anything.
I think the worst is for companies that are relying on baking and making flans and selling food, restaurants.
No, we've been down this road, and it's absolutely true. But still, I mean, it just didn't affect me at all. So unless it comes up in the news, I'm like, huh? All right. So speaking of the news, let's take a look at some stuff. The SABC. Oh, shame. You talk about the SABC's app. The SABC owes artists and music producers nearly 100 million Rand in royalties. These royalties, more than a decade overdue, and involve a total debt to the recording industry by the SABC of between 80 million and 100 million Rand. It is estimated the total amount owing 50% belongs to performers. Now, we used to get into such trouble if we didn't keep a record of all the music we played on our shows. That was over a decade ago when I was there, or just under a decade ago, right? And it was such an important part of what we did. If we didn't keep good records for, originally it was Samro, then it was Saril, then it was Capasso, whatever this organization is, then we would literally be fined. They would take money out of our salaries. And so the SABC was getting the money. It was playing these songs. It was using these artists and their material. And they always said, oh no, it's very important that we support local music and local artists, and we're the national broadcaster, and we've got a duty to protect. I mean, they even had quota systems to play. Every 4th song had to be South African. Then it was every 3rd song.
Yeah.
People used to complain. They'd be like, why are you playing so much local music? And I'd be, well, this is the policy, this stupid shithole that I work for. And now it turns out, not only were they enforcing a policy that they had no intention of honoring with the actual artists, but it's almost like they just kept the money and redirected it. This is like the cruelest thing you can do. There are probably artists, and we know in South Africa that if you're a musician, you don't earn big money. Okay, so if you get your song on radio or whatever, it's like that could be your pathway to yes, yeah, that could be the thing that makes you successful. And these guys at that building who run the place, they don't care about South African musicians at all. They don't give a damn about how you've been waiting there on that. You're sitting on the bones of your backside. You have no money. You're out of opportunities. It's just so sad. And I'm not surprised because it's, that's the kind of thing that the SABC would do. They could not be more of a disaster than they are. It really is just so pathetic.
I think at this point we should just shut it down because, like, you can't implement a 90% local type policy. Like, we can only play 90% local, and you're not even paying that 90% local talent.
I am with you. Shut it down. Yeah. It's not helping anybody anymore. And I don't see why the public should be forced, because we are all forced to participate in the SABC.
Yeah.
And we don't need them. I don't need them. You, Bakabantu, used their app yesterday. So technically you are still on the SABC.
No, keep the app. No, keep the app and just shut down everything else.
I have nothing.
I don't know, guys. It's so sad.
I never watch SABC television. I don't listen to SABC radio. I have no link to them whatsoever. Nothing. Zero.
Except that you were there.
No, they very begrudgingly paid me, and it was overs. I mean, like, I have nothing to do with them anymore. I don't see why I should be roped into this. Get out of here. Just shut it down. And apparently Tracy says we got to get Jack Devner in. I like him. He's actually a really good guy to talk to. We should. Producers, take note. He's still fighting this fight for artists. It's not just musicians. It's actors, cameramen, production staff, etc., etc.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's literally the people who make the SABC valid, the content creators.
Right. Right, exactly.
Didn't you walk out of a meeting with Claudia Mutsoneng when he came in? Wasn't that your tipping point?
He took over just after I left. So
I would love to be in that meeting.
I did go to one meeting where he presented to all of us.
Yes, we were in the basement in the apartheid section with the carpets that smelled permanently like cheese curls.
That's the place. And this guy came in and I was like, wow, this guy's stupid. You know how you sometimes just look at somebody and you're like,
yeah,
how do you put one foot in front of the other? How does your brain even manage with like the very, very low output that you have going on in your head?
I remember being like a bit scared of him.
Why? You're scared of him?
When I first saw him, I thought he was visually a bit scary.
Leigh-Ann, you can't say that. You can't say that.
No.
But did you see, like, okay, speaking about artists, did you see this, Gareth? Like, Michael Caine is retiring.
Who?
Michael Caine.
Oh, no.
That's it.
You don't say it. You don't say it like that. You say it like this. Michael Caine is going to retire. He's going to retire. He's going to take it easy because he's had enough. He's tired of that. He's old man. He's bloody old man, and he's tired of hearing from people like you who can't pronounce his name properly. Is he retiring?
I mean, I didn't know he was still working, you know?
Of course he's still working. He's been doing movies the whole time. Didn't he play Batman's butler just the other day in the latest Batman?
Just you don't watch what? No,
I don't watch those movies, yeah.
That's the problem with you. You don't watch good movies because you don't have any taste. You're just a rubbish. You don't know what's good. You don't know what's bad. If you don't watch Michael Caine, you don't know what acting is.
Yeah.
Hercules.
Whatever happened to the billions that was stolen from the SABC? What a joke. Please. Daryl, have you Have you been smoking weed first thing in the morning? Like you think that there's someone at the SABC who's like going around doing a forensic audit to try and find the money? Please, man, give up on it.
Listen,
All right.
they worked so hard to get this last TV license of mine, which was mainly fines. So it was
They
quite
got
a
it
bit
out
of
of you,
money.
didn't they? They got it out of you.
They finally got it out of me because they
How did
worked
they
so
break you?
hard. Lawyers' letters, my phone rang all day.
Yeah.
It's-
You know,
It was just too much.
No, you are you're a major problem. I'm
No,
so
but it's
tired
done and
of you.
dusted now. I've now said that I don't have a TV, and I've filled in an affidavit.
Leigh-Ann, I'm so tired of you following the rules and making the rest of us look bad. First of all, because if we all don't follow the rules, then none of us can get into trouble. But it's people like you who
If
like,
I could have,
I better pay my TV license. I better pay my e-tolls. That's you.
no, not anymore. I promise you. I just needed it to stop. If you were willing to swap phones with me, swap SIM cards, then I would
Wait,
have
are they calling
carried
you?
on. Yes.
What are they
But-
saying? Like, this is the SABC.
Yeah. Lawyers' letters, all sorts of things.
Who are you? You can imagine those calls, right?
No, it was always a woman, a very, very angry black woman.
Hello. Oh, is she angry?
Yes.
Wait, are you pulling up one of her texts? Like,
Yeah, I'm trying.
Are you sure you weren't paying her directly to her account?
Imagine her like, listen, you bitch, I'm coming for you.
You better pay that TV license right now.
All right. Well, it turns out, like, just to go back to Michael Caine, he is 90 years old.
Jeez,
I mean,
well, that's a good acting career. Wow.
good for him. And frankly, the guy can, he's earned his retirement at 90. That's very impressive.
Yeah.
Oscar winner Barzat following another widely praised performance in his final film, The Great Escaper, which was released on October the 6th. He's a Hollywood icon, decades spanning career, littered with awards and acclaim. What a great guy. So Michael Caine, go well and enjoy your retirement. And you deserve to sit at the pool and do fuck all for the rest of your life. All right? Sit there and do fuck all, man. And by the way, someone here, Arbot, says, I loved him in Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. What a great movie. Wasn't Steve Martin in that as well? Oh, it was so good.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And then so I told you the other day I watched Casablanca for the first time, which was amazing.
Welcome to the world. Yes.
Right. I know it's taken me however many years to get to the point where I've watched like one of the most famous movies ever. But someone made me feel so stupid for not watching it that I eventually thought, well, if I don't watch this, I can't really be in polite company anymore.
I only watched it for the first time about 7-8 years ago. And I actually cried.
It's brilliant. So I watched a while ago The Man Who Would Be King, which is also Michael Caine and Sean Connery. What a great movie that was. So that's another good one to put on your list if you are also like exploring old, great, brilliant movies. You know, if you're tired of like Marvel movies and you actually want something with a bit of substance in it, that might be a fun thing to do. So there we go.
Yep.
All right. So TL says, geez, Leigh-Ann, I can't believe you said Cloudy visually scared you. Visually.
People can look scary. What's wrong with that? Am I missing something that's not PC
Yeah, like
here?
that, Leigh-Ann, in your defense, we've seen our mayor.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's because you showed me a picture of him the other day, Bakabantu, and I was like, who's that? And you're like, what? You don't know? This is the mayor, the Nyope mayor. It's like, shit, that's what he looks like.
Yeah,
He's visiting the suburb of Melville in Johannesburg tomorrow, which one of the suburbs that's been very badly hit with this no water business. They either at any point in time they either have no electricity or no water.
All right. I'm going to ask you a favor because you're a rule follower. Okay. So you always pay your e-tolls, pay your TV license, all this shit. You're like a proper good citizen. I want you to go there with a fire extinguisher. And when he starts talking, just switch it on right in his face.
Listen, the people on the street groups have all said they're taking rotten fruit with them from their fridges that don't work. And they're dirty washing, which they can't wash because they don't have water. They're going to throw dirty underwear at him.
The only way, dirty underwear and dirty old rotten fruit is exactly what should be thrown at this guy. I think we've got to start humiliating politicians in public so that they think twice. They go, actually, maybe this job's not for me. Right, shame bell. Yes, good. Bring the shame bell out and make him march down the streets of Melville in his underpants while you throw fruit and your dirty underpants at him. I think that's a good idea. I have no respect for any of these. None of these politicians are respectful and respectable people. None. I've only been watching documentaries lately, like Brave New World, Soylent Green, and Clockwork Orange. That's very good, Slippery Pickle. Very good. Oh, man. So John Bad Dog says he also was chased down by the SABC. They said they wanted 8,000 Rand, sent letters, and called me for years. I just refused. You've got to hold your ground. Yeah.
There's just too much pressure in the world. Look, mine was I think 795 Rand. So it wasn't worth the pain anymore. I just needed to.
They're going after every cent, right? Like 700.
Yeah.
They want
because they need to pay musicians. But guess what? They're probably going to use money for something else.
Of course they did. They gave it straight to some corrupt, crooked person in middle management. You know that.
Sure.
We know they're giving it to the artists who keep them afloat. Anyway, all right, listen, we're going to do a quick sport roundup because Ryan is in the studio. He's ready to go. And we've got some good news after yesterday, South Africa versus France. So that's obviously where we'll start, right, Ryan? You want to start with that?
South Africa versus France.
Switch on his mic.
There we go. Sorry, we have Buckabounce on the controls here.
Oh, no, that's a disaster.
I didn't think of a joke. It worked.
No, South Africa versus France. What a game last night. I really, really enjoyed it. I kind of wish I went to a pub to watch it. I watched it at home because I had the show, so I had to be up. But I saw everyone was at different bars, and it just looked like South Africa was lit up last night.
I did.
The cops must have had a field day.
Yeah. The cops must have been raking in that 795.
Stuff that you should have been giving to the SABC. All right, what do you got for us? Give us some other results. What else do we need?
All right, so let's kick off with Wales and Argentina. Now, I didn't think I had bets on Argentina, and I was actually super surprised they came through. Brilliant kick from the halfway end. It was very, very cool. They came out 29-17 to Wales. Then we had New Zealand versus Ireland, also a nail-biting game. I don't know if you watched that one.
Yep. I
was really rooting for Ireland on that one. It just didn't work out, but they played to the end. They looked distraught at the end, but New Zealand came out on top 28-24.
Right.
And then Fiji and England. England came out on top there with 30-24 to Fiji. And of course, South Africa beat France last night 29-28. It was one of our best performances. Eben Etzebeth was
best performing players. Terrible performance by South Africa. It was France's game to lose.
Eben Etzebeth had such a great game last night.
True
I really enjoyed it.
True story.
So now the semis are decided. We have New Zealand versus Argentina and South Africa versus England, and I think that's coming up this weekend. Then we have the Cricket World Cup. I don't know if anyone watched that. This is the most rugby I've consumed in so long. So I didn't really pay much attention to the cricket, but we had a big one. It was India versus Pakistan, and India came out on top by 7 wickets. And then Afghanistan beat England by 69 runs. And South Africa plays the Netherlands today. And that's all for the sports.
All right. Well, I mean, you know what? That's quite a lot of good stuff for us for a weekend. So let's take it. We'll take it. We'll take all of it. That's good news. I did win because I listened to Ben on Friday and I placed a bet on Argentina. And I won. Yes, I turned, I think it was 200 Rand into 400 Rand or something like that.
You really double up on Argentina, huh, when it comes to all the World Cups?
Yeah, he likes the penis.
That's my other thing, yeah. I like them.
So that's where you came from in your second life?
No, I don't have any link to Argentina at all. In fact, I've never even been there. So,
fun fact, maybe you know how the Germans left World War II to go to Argentina? Gareth?
Yeah, maybe. Huh?
Maybe it's a bit of that plan.
I don't know what kind of inference you're drawing here. I don't know what you're trying to say.
No, it's because you own every single jersey from the Argentinian, for football jerseys.
Yes, you know what, you idiots. I support Argentina because when I was becoming a fan of World Cups, this is the most famous player in the world was, you dumbasses, was Diego Maradona.
The
Do you remember him?
Maradona, yeah, of
Are
course.
you that old?
I'm that old.
Maradona.
No, we all know
Maradona's a
Maradona,
legend.
but you might as well said Pele. Like Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo. This is what we're talking.
You guys are just you're an embarrassment that you couldn't figure that out. All right, thank you.
All right, well, thank you guys. It was an awesome
Very
weekend.
Apparently, a U.S. astronaut had to say he got used to Earth after spending 371 days in space. Can you imagine dealing with no gravity for a year?
Dude,
371 days.
Do you know what happens to you when you're in space? Like apparently you lose like bone density and you become actually like an inch taller because like gravity is not there squishing you. So when you come back to Earth, it's like, trauma.
Huh. It must
not
be
something I'm ready to do.
So they have to do exercises while they're in space. But I don't know if it'll help because this guy, his name is Frank Rubio. And he said he got back to Earth after spending 371 days in space, having taken off in September last year aboard a Russian rocket. The Soyuz spacecraft was then supposed to bring them back and was docked at the International Space Station, but it sprung a coolant leak in December. I mean, I get annoyed when a plane won't take off. You know, if a plane doesn't take off because there's some kind of problem with one of the ailerons or one of the tail flaps doesn't work properly, or, you know, someone's luggage is on board, but they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And then they delay you by half an hour to an hour. And I'm like, furious, like steam coming out of my ears. Imagine being out in space and you like realize, shit, I'm meant to come back in September. I'm going to have to wait until December. You're like, damn it. How am I going to have time to buy the family Christmas presents?
What are you chasing back on Earth? Nah, stay in space.
You would?
Keep me there. I would. Come on. It's like a jam. Like you get to see, but like I'm sure you get to see like the Universal logo every day. Like bam, bam.
I know.
Bam.
I think it'd get pretty. I don't think it would ever become boring, but I do think, you know, the kinds of things that they have to do in space, like those exercises that they have to do to kind of keep their bone density high and all the rest of it. I don't think that stuff's fun. I think it's really tedious and routine, and I think it's hard. It's really, really so stressful. It's difficult on your body. It's difficult on your mind. It's not.
I don't understand that that's what you would be worried about, like the exercising. For me, it would be
Leigh-Ann,
or the routine. For me, it would be just I would be in a permanent state of thinking that we were going to die.
Yeah,
I would be clinging onto the walls every single day, screaming, "God, please help us! We are dying."
You would be no use at all.
No, absolutely not. Doing my exercises, that would be the last thing on my mind.
You are separated from the vacuum of space by tinfoil, basically.
Yeah, correct. No, you got a tiny thin layer of aluminium between you and oblivion.
Yes.
And like I worry about the landing of a plane. Can you imagine the landing of a spaceship?
Oh yeah. No, you would. I mean, upon re-entry to the atmosphere, you'd just poo and wee and cry.
Completely.
All right. So listen, government could come after you for unpaid e-tolls. A recent parliamentary Q&A. And Leigh-Ann's going to go.
Leigh-Ann is like, yes. You see, this is why I got my e-tag.
you guys don't know. I owe them so much money because I stopped paying years ago, Gareth.
Okay, well,
you should never put it on board. You see, now they know where you stay. This is why they're sending you letters.
They don't. I've moved 5 times since then.
You should never have paid in the first place. Anyway, so apparently the parliamentary Q&A that they had the other day revealed the Gauteng government could still be coming after motorists for unpaid e-toll bills. In addressing concerns over the delays of the confusion regarding the end of e-tolls, DA's Dennis Ryder asked Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana why the gantries have not been turned off. In response, he said the gantries would only be turned off once a binding agreement is signed between the Gauteng provincial government and the national government on the province's financial commitments to paying off the debt. Don't try and transfer this to us, guys. Don't even try. First of all, there is no money to be paid. We're not paying back the money. So forget about it. It's not going to happen. None of us have any money to pay you back anyway. We're all on the bones of our backsides. So forget it. And I noticed that the gantries are still, well, the lights are still on the gantries.
Yeah.
Who knows if they're still taking any information or like taking
Well, they
registration.
beep when I go under, so they're definitely
do?
working.
Because she still has an e-tag.
Of your e-tag. Why don't you prise that thing loose from your car and throw it into the rubbish?
It just doesn't even bother. I probably get about 3 beeps a year. Doesn't bother me at all.
They'll still charge you. They'll still find a way of getting money out
Yep.
of you. Anyway, I mean, that's just to me. If anything proves in this country that you don't have to listen to government, you don't have to worry about them. Even if you're a good, like, honest citizen like Leigh-Ann is, don't worry about them because e-tolls proves and will always prove, and none of us are going to pay. Forget it. It's never going to happen. This proves that a civil disobedience campaign can work. Let's take this. This is a huge victory on the shoulders of South Africans who were just to here and no further. F you.
They're very beautiful, though. They light up very nicely at night. Such expensive lights.
So I don't know whether I'm the only one who feels this way. I've never liked oysters. I really don't. I know lots of people also don't. The texture puts them off. People have to put that hot sauce on, and you have to
Tabasco, lemon.
You slurp it out of the
suck back the snot.
I don't.
It's basically like snot. Yeah.
Disgusting. There's nothing about it that appeals to me. People say
I used
to
to absolutely love them.
Aphrodisiac.
Exactly. That's what I hate. Anytime you bring up oysters in a room, they're an aphrodisiac. I'm like,
what are you? So you what? You're dead. Your genitals just given up on you. I mean, like, what? You can't get excited about things anymore. That you need to eat 40 oysters before you can start feeling something. You sad human being.
It's all for me. It was always about sitting next to the ocean, having oysters was really great. And then one day, I had a dinner party, and the people who were doing the dinner party bought the oysters from one of those machines in Johannesburg. I got so ill that at 4:00 in the morning, I was at a slow pace because my body was so tired, vomiting out whole oysters that were coming out of my throat. So I just cannot eat them ever again.
How many did you have in a single sitting?
Well, probably about 6, but they were really toxic.
From a machine.
Makabantu has this story that IOL, so it's a local story. IOL has a
not.
story.
It's actually it's from America. Actually, this chick, she embarrassed herself
on TikTok. Oh my gosh!
Exactly. So I don't have TikTok, but like this comes up onto my timeline. I'm like, oh well, world's crashing together then, I guess. But
what is it? Tell the story.
Yeah, this chick is basically TikToking this guy who left her with the bill after ordering 40 oysters. I think the bill was like just under $200. Yeah, $200. So she's like, no, this guy just left me with the bill. And the guy's like, no, I was paying for the drinks. It was supposed to be a small get together. And then you started ordering oysters. I left. He went to the bathroom and just bolted out of that restaurant.
But she was such a gross human being.
Exactly.
She had these platters of oysters delivered to her because they come on big platters of crushed ice. She was squeezing the lemon on them, filming her long nails in all of the mucus. And putting in the Tabasco, and then going like this, like sucking up each oyster. It was absolutely disgusting. And she was just racing through them. And apparently, she ordered really expensive drinks as well.
Yeah, she did. She did that. And then the guy was like, I agreed to pay for half of the drinks. Yeah.
But haven't you heard this story? And it's been happening more and more online now. There's a bunch of feminists, and they're very, very confused. They're not sure what to do because. Do you want to see what the woman?
Yeah.
Her name is Equana B on TikTok.
Oh yes.
You got to see what she looks like. She looks like a prostitute. There's no other way to put it, right?
Oh my gosh, Gareth.
No, it's true. I mean, she dresses like a prostitute. I don't know what she does for a living, but she looks to me like a straight up prostitute. You want to see her, Leigh-Ann?
SWs.
I saw her. I saw her video.
This is a mahosha. That's what this is. No, seriously,
Yeah,
look
she's
at this.
not the classiest woman around, that's for sure.
No, this is the woman. This is the one who slurped down 48 oysters.
Yep.
She looks like the kind of person who really wants everyone else to pay for her to have a life that looks amazing to her friends and the people who follow her on TikTok. So amazingly, there's this thing going on the internet at the moment where feminists are trying to square the circle. And I love it when feminists, you can almost see the steam coming out of their ears. They're trying to find a way to make it okay for men to pay for the meals.
Yeah.
They're saying, well, it's kind of like, actually, because of the patriarchy, the guys should really pay for the meals.
You're not going to win this one, girls.
Oh, they're going to try. So they're trying to make it like there's some really it's just the most confounding argument I've ever heard. In fact, I can't even make sense of it. I wish I could tell you. I could describe accurately how these crazy feminists are. They are. You can almost see, there's that meme of the woman with all the mathematical symbols going on in the background, and she's just looking confused. Her one eye is like popping out, and the other one is smoke coming out of her brain. It's like that. You could see these feminists, because essentially they're just cheap scavengers. They just want someone else, like this mahosha over here in this picture, to pay for everything. They're just basically on the take 24/7. Now, they don't really want the man to pay for them because then their independence is gone. So the whole point of being a feminist is that you don't need no man, all that stuff. But they still want the free meal. So these feminists are just doing their utmost. And I read a column from some absolutely shit newspaper like the LA Times or something, where this woman's like, well, no, it's a way for us to get back. The only thing that we ever got
restitution.
Restitution. There we go, restitution.
Not in your lifetime, sweetie. Really.
Gotta love feminists. Hey?
No, they really cannot win this one. But the biggest loser is that woman who is really not a great human being.
Which one? The mahosha with the oysters?
Yes. I mean, just even whether it was a date or not, whether this is a male versus female thing, you don't go somewhere with a friend or a date and order that many oysters when the other person is just having drinks and expect them to pay.
Can I tell you imagine what's going on in her stomach after 48 oysters and an expensive champagne. I mean, ugh. Must have been like
well, whatever slid in easily is going to slide out easily. I'll tell you that much.
Leigh-Ann.
So he disappeared and she had to pay the bill.
Yes, the guy did the right thing.
But he came back and then he said, okay, I'll pay for half the drinks.
Yeah, he came back. He's like, okay, fine. Yeah, fine. The drinks. Because he only drank the drinks.
Just imagine what an unpleasant person this woman is for him to get up, go away, sit with other people or sit at the bar on his own, and then come back just to settle the bill. It's like, I never want to see you again. But out of honor and decency, I'm going to pay my half of the drinks. I think that's what a guy. Whoever that guy is, he deserves
what a guy.
He deserves a trophy. I mean, what an absolute gent to come back and offer to pay for anything. I would have left that mahosha on her own to pay for the whole lot.
Just to tie it back, Cyril should call him and be like, he is looking forward to lifting up the trophy with him.
Exactly. Ugh. Anyway, good luck to all of you who eat oysters. Some of the people in the comments saying it's fantastic. Let's go to Dr. Hanan. Let's stop buggering around. We've got Dr. Hanan on, and you don't waste his time. His time is money. Hey, Doc, how are you?
Hey, guys. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. We're fantastic. We have nothing to complain about this morning. Started the morning with World Cup rugby win yesterday in terms of us versus France, so we're feeling good. But I did get this email. Yeah, I know we need it. We need to win the whole damn thing. But there's always someone to spoil our fun, Doc. So Ashley sent me an email, and she's going to be a big buzzkill on the show this morning. She says, in 2020, I moved to the USA behind dear family and friends with hopes and plans to see them all again and share my life with them. A couple of days ago, an immediate family member passed away suddenly, leaving the entire family shocked. I'm not able to travel back to South Africa and will not be part of the funeral arrangements or be there to support the family and grieve with them. How do you grieve alone? How do I not feel so guilty about not being there to help? And how do I help family grieve if I can't be there in person? So, I mean, Ashley, I'm really sorry, but now you're dragging all of us into this. What do we do, Doc? Answer a question. For God's sake, help a woman. She's going to drive us all into the depths of depression.
So she's asked 3 questions there. How does she let go of the guilt? How does she support her family members? And how does she heal herself? So I'll try to answer all of that in 9 minutes. So first of all, I'll start with the last one. How do you support a family member? There's a concept in psychology called need bidding. Need bidding means we communicate our needs a lot of the times, not consciously by what we say, but also subconsciously by what we put out. So your family members obviously need something from you. There's a nutrient that you can give them that would make them feel better. Sometimes it's a practical need that they want. Maybe call up, I don't know, the life insurance, or sort out, some administrative stuff. Sometimes they need emotional support. They need somebody to talk to. Sometimes they need you just to sit there and just listen. And I know a lot of people that go through grief, they just want somebody to be there, just listen. So in terms of supporting your family members, go and figure out exactly what is it that they need. People don't need a lot of what they don't need. They just need a little bit of what they do. So go and figure out what they need. And a lot of the times it will tell you. So ask your family members, do you want me to just, do you want me to call you? Do you want me to sit down and chat to you? Even though she's a million miles away, we are still very connected through social media. The internet obviously connects us, so people that are far away feel really close. Ask them, do you want me to call you? How often do you want me to call you? Do you want me to sort out some administrative stuff? So whatever it is, get to know what they need and fulfill that. With regards to your first question, how do I heal so far away?
She asked, how do I grieve alone?
Yeah. How does she heal? How does she grieve alone? Let's just define what loss is. Loss is when your world changes from A to B and your brain is not prepared to accept B. Your brain still holds on to what it was. And the only way to accept B, your new reality, is to immerse yourself in your new world. Old, let's call it misinformed psychology said that in order to heal the past, you got to sit in it and you got to dwell in it and you got to unpack it, repack it, unpack it, repack it. New modern psychology says in order to heal, just move forward. Just immerse yourself in what it is. The brain is an amazing adaptive machine. We as human beings, we are terrible at predicting, but we're incredible at adapting. And if you just immerse yourself in what it is in your world, and what does it mean what it is in your world? Back to work, back to your kids, back to your husband, back to your friends, back to your social life, back to, and it doesn't have to be from level 0 to level 10, you can work up to it. But as you immerse yourself more and more in your current world, your brain will adapt. That's how you heal and grieve alone. And thirdly, guilt. How does she let go of the guilt? You must understand that guilt is an emotion that comes up when you feel that you've done something wrong. So I'm not going to get into the boring stuff, but we each operate, we have an operating system. We have a certain set of rules in our minds that was given to us by our parents, by our culture, by our religion, by society. And the moment we adhere to these rules, we feel content. The moment we break the rules, we feel guilty. So for example, at age 3, my parents gave me the rules, don't cross the road on your own. And at age 3, that's incredibly functional. So at age 3, when I start crossing the road on my own, I naturally feel guilty. And in that moment, guilt is very functional because it stops me from breaking the rules. But at 44 years old, that rule set no longer applies. It's dysfunctional. And I've got to break the rules. So how do I break the rules? Well, I act with a new rule set. Remember what we've always said on the show. Action first, feelings always follow. Action first, feelings always follow. So now at 44 years old, I'm going to cross the road by myself and I'm going to feel guilty. But I'll do it again and again and again and again. And after doing it 1,000 times, my brain adjusts to the new rule set and the guilt disappears. So I would ask her to act in the most appropriate ways that she feels as an adult. Don't worry about the guilt. The guilt will dissipate as long as her behavior is consistent.
All right, that's handy because I understand completely what you're saying when, like, the behavior that you want to keep repeating over and over again is now A, and you've got to change it to B. So just start acting, and the rest will follow.
Definitely. Well, your emotions will always follow your behavior, never the other way around. We've said that on the show, and that's kind of essential theme. Not feelings and actions, actions, then actions, then actions, and actions, and actions, and emotions will always follow.
I like it. Okay, so what do we do about people who eat like 48 oysters and then you have to come back and pay the bill?
They have no
Gareth,
conscience.
we have to get that guy on the show. The psychology of watching that and being able to walk away from that and coming back and paying for half the bill is amazing. I need to interview this guy.
Yeah, he sounds like a very very self-contained, very, very advanced, evolved human being. If he could just, I mean, not only does he let this woman behave like this, but he comes back and he does the decent thing. Like, I would have disappeared. She'd never have seen me again. That would be the end.
But how many guys would just feel bad? Would just feel bad and just sit through it and eventually pay half the bill?
Oh no!
Or the full bill, the full bill completely, because they would feel bad. So, that you feel that you need to treat the woman, but the fact that he actually got up, that's amazing.
Isn't that like a sunken cost syndrome, what you're talking about there? Is like some people think in a relationship, like some people have been together for like 5-6 years and they really actually don't even like that person that they're with anymore. But they reckon, well, I've spent so long with them, I may as well just stay with them because it's too hard to start again. So it's like a sunken cost thing. I've put in so much effort and time, and I just better make it work, even though I don't feel a damn thing.
Yeah, what's Newton's first law of motion? Somebody must just Google it. It's like an object in motion will continue moving along,
unless acted upon by an external force.
Yeah, exactly. So you just want to keep on moving in the same direction. So I've invested so much in this relationship that I just got to keep on moving in the same direction, stopping it. I thought this was a first date. Was this not a first date?
I think it was.
It must have been, because I promise you wouldn't go on a second date with this girl. And I don't have that, Doc. I don't have a sunken cost thing at all. I literally can feel the relief before I've even made the decision to get up and walk out. I'll go into a movie, for example, and I'll sit in the movie. This hasn't happened for years because who goes to the movies anymore? But I would sit in the movie for 5-6 minutes. The titles had just finished rolling. The movie will start. I'll take one look at like what's going on the screen. I'll be like, no way, I'm out. I'll just get up and go.
Gareth, I want to ask you.
I'll even leave the other people in the theater and go out now.
So Gareth, I want to ask something. Imagine this scenario. Imagine you go to a business deal or a business meeting with a brand new person, never met before, and this person says, I'm going to change your life. I'm going to offer you something really spectacular. Whatever it is that you've always dreamt of, he's going to put that on the table. And then he goes on and has 48 oysters. Would you stand up and leave halfway, or would you stay and see the meeting through because of what he's promised him? And the reason why I'm asking you this is because what did she promise him? What did she put on the table that would have made him stay or not? I wonder.
I'll tell you what, it all is about that. It's like reward versus risk, and what kind of a down payment you're making depending on what you
exactly.
So if somebody said to me, like, I will do a deal with you, business deal with you that you will never need money again. That's how big this is. Oh, you can eat oysters until you're blue.
So what did she promise him? Exactly. Did she promise him the deal of the century?
In my head, I'm thinking all I want to do is get away from here, but then I can postpone gratification until like the business deal's signed. And then I will, for the rest of my life, tell everybody the story of how I was sitting with this fat pig who was like shucking oysters the whole time. And but I'll have lots of money and I'll be able to laugh. And if this woman promised him like the world's greatest blowjob or whatever, and that's why he was there, then okay. So then I understand.
You see, she promised him enough for like 19 oysters. Not more than that.
Right.
And he was counting as like, yo.
He went over the line, but in his head he had a line and like, okay, she's like a 19 oyster blowjob. And then she went to like 20, and he's like,
not worth it.
25. Oh, she's starting to really turn me off. And then she gets to 30, 40, and the guy's like, oh my God, I just don't even want to think about what's going to happen here.
Right.
You're right. Say, Dr. Hanan always puts everything in perspective for us. So that's why we have him.
She was good enough for 19, yeah.
19, not 48.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. We've learned a lot this morning. And thanks for helping Ashley out. And Ashley, I do hope that you managed to follow Doc's advice here this morning. Maybe it'll help you to get through it. It must be very difficult. It's also, the idea of being away from your family when they need you and you need them has got to be one of the most terrible feelings.
Yeah, you want to be with your people, especially when you're grieving. It's very difficult for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Dr. Hanan,
right,
back
guys.
next Monday. Thank you. Nice to see you, Doc. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. 7 o'clock. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a whole lot more. Leigh-Ann, Buckabantu, and I. And we're going to be joined by our old friend, Jon Foster-Pedley, who is from Henly Business School. And he's been the Dean and Director of Henly Business School since 2010. We've got a lot to talk to him about. He's got some new stuff he wants to discuss with us. And I think also there's so much going on in the world of tertiary education. I know you've got questions, Buckabantu, and this guy can actually answer it. He's got a very open mind, and they've got a very different way of doing things at Henly. So we'll find out from him in a short while what he can teach us, literally and figuratively, because he's the dean of the business school, for heaven's sake. Who better to talk to? We'll be back in just a moment.
Up next in the Auto Trader podcast.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's kind of the hot topic.
Yeah.
Speaking of, so one of the new energy solutions that have been flagged right now is hydrogen. So hydrogen fuel cell vehicles. And I don't know if you saw it yesterday. I mean, you were there. But Toyota and Sasol and a company called Air Products basically collaborated to introduce hydrogen fuel cell vehicles in the country. I mean, it's been around for a while, hydrogen fuel cell energy. But I don't think there's actually a vehicle in the market that's, hydrogen fuel cell that you can just go and buy. I think they're still kind of trialing it out.
Catch us every Monday at 9 a.m. on YouTube and on autotrader.co.za.
To our valued partners, thank you for being part of our journey in leveraging the power of podcasting as part of your marketing mix. The explosion of podcasts and vidcasts is more than a trend, it's a meaningful way to create lasting connection. CliffCentral.com is a unique hybrid of live streaming and podcasting that brings valuable experience and insight. If your business isn't doing podcasting, contact us at contact@cliffcentral.com. That is correct. You can get hold of us at contact@cliffcentral.com if you are. I see the EFF are entering the world of podcasting. I see lots of people. Will you stop fiddling with that microphone? Sweet Jesus. Every time you touch it, it's like it makes a noise. Don't you realize it's audio equipment? What's going on with you?
My bad. I feel like that chick eating oysters.
I have to explain to you not to. Do you know what happens when you touch the microphone, Bakabantu? It makes a noise because it's an audio concentration and amplification device. I mean, do you think we have them for show?
Anyway, Leigh-Ann, leave Grumpy Gareth alone.
Grumpy. You know how many people in the audience are going, what the hell's that noise? You're like ruining their morning. All right, let's get into it. We've got lots of things to talk about this morning. And as I said, we'll be joined by Jon Foster-Pedley in a short while. He's always been an interesting guy to talk to when it comes to what is next in education and what does the university of the future look like, which I think all of us will be interested in hearing about.
Yep.
What about, while we're talking about universities, apparently scientists at 2 South African universities joined hands with communities in Limpopo to help narrow down and identify which grasshoppers are the best to eat. Yes. This is why universities need to be shut down. You know, we were talking about oysters just now and how horrible they are. Well, grasshoppers are worse. I would rather eat oysters than grasshoppers. And you're telling me that 2, not just 1, 2 of our universities have joined hands with some community of people who eat bugs in Limpopo to decide like which grasshoppers are the least gross and the most tasty. What on earth?
Listen, it's not like you weren't warned. The grasshopper diet has been coming for a long time, and it's been eaten for decades, for hundreds of years, by a lot of people around the world where protein isn't always available.
Oh, please. None of them because they wanted to. No one went, oh, you know, so peckish at the moment. Just grab hold of one of those locusts that flies past me because I'm living in a country where everything has been destroyed and decimated and the crops have been completely eradicated by these locusts. Let me eat them. That's a good idea. Said no one ever.
So in Limpopo, it's part of the culture to fry and salt the grasshoppers in a pan over a fire, and you eat them as a snack, or you cook them in tomato and onions and you eat them as an evening meal with pap. And we've known for a long time that they have a high amount of protein in them. So scientists at the University of at Stellenbosch University and the University of Limpopo, also the University of Strasbourg coming on board on this as well, finding out how some of these edible grasshopper species can be harvested from the wild and be suitable candidates for mass rearing.
Right. Bakabantu's also shaking his head.
No. Remember that time we were milking cockroaches? No.
Do not make this, like, just stop. All of you people who are trying to make this a thing, it's not a thing. We're not going to suddenly start eating bugs because the World Economic, what is it called? Forum decided that this is a good way for us to make sustainable protein or whatever. We don't need so many cows farting. We shouldn't eat meat and all this stuff. You want to eat locusts and grasshoppers? You go ahead. But don't tell me that's culture. You know what that is? It's called poverty. It's not culture.
That is my exact point. Can you stop trying to convince us that, oh, the protein? No, we have protein. We have figured out how to get protein from plants and actual cows.
Yes.
We don't need grasshoppers. Stop
and
trying to reinvent the wheel in the closest way possible.
I even see people here in the comments, these deluded, completely brainwashed people are like, oh no, but they're quite crunchy. Here, listen to this. Arbot. Grasshoppers have a nice crunch to them. Some taste a bit nutty. Well, you can eat all of it. I'm not going to. And if you've been convinced that this is the way to go, then go for it. But don't tell me it's culture. You know what that is? It's just desperation. It's not culture. Anyone who finds themselves frying a grasshopper in a pan, you're like, and the grasshopper's getting all like crackly and nutty and whatever. You think that's, you go ahead. But don't try and convince me it's your culture. Leigh-Ann, you've gone quiet. You're on mute.
Sorry, I had to have a cough. What is the difference between then eating a grasshopper and eating a prawn, for instance?
Prawn?
Yeah.
Well, I don't think there's a lot of difference. And that's also why I don't really like prawns.
And in fact, prawns are eating all of the cuck stuff
shit
at the
at
bottom of the sea.
But at least like okay, freshwater prawns, no, because we know how our freshwater looks like. The seawater prawns, yes. At least the sea. There's something.
But still,
there's something
they're like basically insects and cockroaches of the sea.
but they're not.
Right.
And how is that associated with fine dining when grasshoppers aren't?
You are trying to trap and trick me, and it's not going to work because I don't eat prawns. And there's some people who talk about snails. Max says, "Do you eat snails?"
Tiger.
Not a chance do I eat snails. Not a chance. A mollusk? Hell no.
I do like snails.
I don't
like
eat
oysters, Leigh-Ann. You like all of these things.
I don't eat oysters. I don't eat mussels. I don't eat. I have had prawns, but it's not my favorite thing. I can do if prawns stopped being a thing tomorrow, I'd be fine with it. I just don't think look, people can eat whatever the hell they want, and in places like North Korea, you have to eat whatever you can get.
Jeez.
Really, like
and
to do
off
it
of the floor.
Yeah, and somebody said in the comments, well, we don't have eggs, so we may as well eat cockroaches and locusts. Well, you go ahead and do that. I'd rather go hungry than have to eat a locust. I'd rather eat the bark off a tree than eat a locust. And I don't know how bark tastes. But, if I was really desperate, and people have survived. It's amazing what people can survive on. You could make it on handfuls of ants or whatever, but there's something so gross. Have you seen a locust's legs or a grasshopper's legs? They've got those spikes on.
Yeah,
I mean,
like a parktown prawn.
How's that going to taste as it goes down and it scratches your throat? How's that going to feel?
Well, Nutty, apparently.
Yeah, look, you can also ground it down into a fine powder and use it to boost the protein levels of certain foods.
Yeah, that's nice. I mean,
you can't taste it.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I've done protein shakes. I don't know what's in there, frankly. I mean, I don't know.
In there. We know what it says on the.
Well, I mean, hopefully what it says on the box, but if there's something in there that's probably like made out of locusts and stuff, just don't tell me. Like then, I'll as long as it tastes like what it says on the box, vanilla or what choc chip or whatever the hell it is, I'll carry on with that. I don't mind. You can ground up.
So if they give you locusts and they say vanilla flavored locust, you're on board. Ground it up, shoot it up my veins.
Yeah, then I don't care. But I don't want to know that that's what I'm eating. I think it's more of a humiliating thing. Like I don't want to be the person who's eating the locusts and like pretending that that's good. Like munching on the locust going, yes, this is definitely the future. I can't wait for more sustainable foodstuffs. And frankly, the fact that universities are taking all of this seriously just proves that we should shut them down. These universities must be shut down. Someone must go in there with a giant, what do they call those things? Like disinfectant. Just spray disinfectant on everything and shut it down. And turn it into accommodation for poor people or something.
Sustainable.
Probably the strangest thing I've eaten was bat. I ate bat in the Seychelles.
Don't you get diseases for that, Leigh-Ann?
Yes, you can. And in fact, when I did eat a bat for lunch in the Seychelles,
you got a disease?
No. When we got back to South Africa, there was a huge outbreak of some weird bat disease, but only after I'd eaten it, and I was a little concerned for a while. But yeah, I think I'll give pretty much anything a try.
Okay,
yeah,
let me call myself
again.
Let me call myself out on this one, Gareth. You gave me that expanded brain. Like, Leigh-Ann, remember when we talked about expanded brain, this like super drug thing? Yeah.
Oh,
so
yes.
Gareth gives me this stuff. So maybe I'm a hypocrite because I drank that stuff without like consideration whatsoever. I've been on that stuff since last week.
Is that with the mushrooms and things in it?
Yeah, with the lion's manes, mushrooms, but the only thing I have, it doesn't tell me how much of it is inside. But yeah, I've been drinking this stuff, and this stuff is
You like it?
Yeah. Like I've been firing on all cylinders. I don't know. It could be a placebo effect.
You basically put out a video, like you're saying, "Oh, this is not an endorsement," but it's a total endorsement. I don't think you understand what an endorsement. You were saying, "Oh, this stuff has made me. I got all my work done by 11 o'clock." I watched your video. I saw you.
I did.
This guy, this Bakabantu, he's sitting. He's sitting there. He goes, "Well, I just finished all my work and it's 11 o'clock in the morning. And I think it's because of these pills I've been taking. And I believed you. I don't think you're making it up.
Yeah. And then the next day, Leigh-Ann, I kept on adding work. And, and like I just kept on running through this stuff. But like this week will be like the ultimate test, because what if like everything I've been doing has just been in my head and like I've been like actually functioning at 0%.
So TL says, you have a guy from a university coming and you want to shut down universities, Gareth. Yeah, but this is why we're talking to him, because he wants to talk about what universities should be doing in the future. I'm pretty sure that chief among those things is not studying the most tasty locust. If you look at some of these masters and doctoral theses that are coming out of universities right now, a lot of it is total nonsense. They're coming out with surveys that you didn't need a survey to do. Like, oh, well, that guys are horny all the time. Oh, really? We needed you to do a survey for that. We needed you to spend like $10,000 of university alumni money to go and work out something that every person on earth knew, right? Genius. They really are. It's like the stupidest people have taken over this. So that's why we've got to get Jon on, because he's not stupid and his university does things differently. That's the point, TL. Has anyone else watched the South African movie Gums and Noses? No. Oh, what is that? It sounds pretty wild.
Yeah.
Sounds like a movie about someone who does too many drugs. Sanela says, why would you eat a locust? What could you possibly be getting from a locust? Or a cockroach? Makes sense why you'd eat seafood, because all the stuff is like cockroaches. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, this whole thing, the whole reason we're talking about this stuff is because of that chick who ate 48 oysters, right? That's why we're talking about all of this. It's all linked to that one mahosha with those 48 oysters.
We have built the back of this podcast off her back.
Don't worry. Her back is going to continue to work hard for her.
I'll be sure to follow up and let you know if more comes out of it, because I'm the world of TikTok's not going to let this one slide. That's for sure.
Like after 48 oysters, more is definitely going to come out of her.
What happens to your insides after 48 oysters? Like, it can't be. Does it make you? Is it a laxative?
No.
It's an aphrodisiac. That's what they always say.
Come on, all of that stuff in your stomach. I mean, that can't be great.
That can't be great for you. You can't absorb all of that stuff.
Surely it gives you the
don't really know.
Also, you don't even chew that stuff. So, like, I don't know. Like, yeah.
Revolting. I know that there are big oyster fans who are listening to us now going, what a bunch of peasants. They don't understand.
Yes.
I'm happy
swines.
You know what? I'm happy to be. It's not something I'll ever miss. If they took away shellfish, all of it, I probably should have been born as like a kosher, a frum Jew who didn't eat any of that, because I can do without shellfish completely. And frankly, I could do without pork as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I could be a Muslim as well. No pork, no shellfish. My life would carry on exactly as it is. I would miss nothing.
Oh, I must say my diet's mainly vegetarian. In fact, most times vegan. So yeah, I don't have that problem either. But if I was born, if I could trace back my former lives, I know that somewhere I was like in an English pub eating mashed potatoes and things like that. That I can really get by with mushy peas. I love that type of stuff. Just good old plain bland English food.
All right. So no fancy dates for you. If someone wants to take you out on a date, just give her a big dog's bowl full of mashed potatoes and everything.
Mash and gravy.
Well, and Guinness.
Just
dog's
bowl down and give her a straight vodka in a tumbler glass and everything will be fine. It's all potatoes. Everything. That's the
even
whole
the vodka.
Yeah. The potato diet.
But Sanela's right. Like, he knows me. He's got it down. Just give Gareth a steak and a tequila and he's set. Yeah, not at the same time, but yes, I get it. You know.
I saw a rerun of one of the very first Vogue issues. It looked like it was in the 60s. Yeah, I'd say around the 60s. They were advocating this diet for women. which was called the egg and wine diet. And it's, have you heard of it?
Yes,
I think you
yes.
told
Sis
us
Pumi
about
talked about this. Yeah, also Sis
That was
Pumi also
Pumi.
mentioned this.
Yes,
Yeah.
correct. It was Pumi who told us. You know
She's
what?
like, it was basically a bottle of wine a day and like one
Yes.
egg.
From the morning. It's like
Yeah.
eggs and wine and coffee in the morning, and same for lunch and same for dinner. Finish off the bottle of wine was the dinner instruction.
Yes,
Okay,
polish
so
that baby off.
Let's just brought up something really important. In agreement with most of that, G, but we must make an exception for bacon. I agree with that. I'm with you. Yeah, bacon, that's something else. That is just something else. Like if only there was a way to take the bacon from the pig without actually killing it, I think.
But if you eat most of that Joburg, like they have macon, so you can't get bacon without the actual pig.
Not the same. I'm sorry. It's just not. Yeah. So you know what? That's right. That's a weakness. That's definitely a weakness. And people talk about legumes everywhere. Everyone should eat them, but if not soaked overnight, it's actually harmful to you. I eat it all, but health has had me reevaluate now. Carbs and sugar gone. Well, legumes are like beans and
chickpeas, lentils. Love those.
No, that's not bad stuff.
But you see now what you've opened now is like we've opened up this wormhole where people are gonna be like, oh, you need to try this. Like snap peas are like chips. No, chips are like chips. Snap peas do not taste like chips, no matter how much salt you put on them. Legumes are not a substitution for a steak.
All right, listen, enough of this dietary stuff. You're making me hungry, and I try not to eat breakfast most days. All right, so Leigh-Ann has got this. This almost sounds like it should be a Simpiwe thing, but why sleeping on the right side of the bed tells us about your personality. So,
okay, but this first had me stumped in the biggest way possible.
I
came across this article yesterday, and then I ended up in mental anguish for about 2 hours doing research, because which side of the bed is the left and which side is the right?
But Leigh-Ann, when you're standing in front of the bed and the pillows are at that far end, isn't it obvious that the right-hand side of the bed is on this side? The right-hand side.
One would think so. Spend 2 hours looking at a whole lot of different research, videos, images, and you'll find that at least half of the research that I found, people were talking about the perspective of being in the bed on your back.
Oh my God! So what is the right answer? Help us, otherwise I'm going to go.
I don't know. I tell you, I got so frustrated about it, and I usually don't stop until I find an answer. But I just had to stop because I wasn't getting anywhere. So I'm opening the debate to you. I always think that if I think I sleep on the left side of the bed, that means I'm in the bed on my back on the left. Then the worst is you watch some of these videos on like TikTok, and sometimes the camera's reversed.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be even more confusing. I nearly drove myself mad.
Oh, that is so that's annoying as hell.
Horrible.
So which side? Okay, Bakabantu, which side do you think's the right? Which one's the left?
No, it's like in a car. Like if you wherever your head is, this side. If your head is here, and you put your head on the pillow, this side is the right side. It's always the right. Yeah.
No. Okay. So which side of the car do you sit in to drive in South Africa?
The right side.
But now that is the opposite to what you were saying about beds, because you were talking about standing, looking at a bed from the front. Would you look at the car from the front and say, no, it's actually the left?
No, I'm saying if you're inside the bed, like you're sleeping, you put your pillow, you put your head down, the right side is the right side. Like you lift up your right hand, your right side is the right side and your left side is the left side. If you're inside the bed, just like a car.
That means I sleep on the left then, technically.
Is that when you're in the bed on your back?
Yes. I would be I'm on the left side of the bed.
You see how you've already changed your mind?
I know
it's horrible. My hands are actually sweating because I got so worked up about this. There was no clear answer.
This is terrible. What have you done to us? I was having a perfectly good morning. Oh,
and then all I could find was what sleeping on the right side of your bed says about your personality. I'm like, which fucking side is the right?
Oh, Leigh-Ann, this is terrible. What have you done? I was having such a good day.
And you know that I usually have the right answer for everything.
No, and I don't doubt for a second that you did 1,000 hours of research on this. I know you. I know you were doing, you were driving yourself crazy again, like that woman with the maths that's going on in the background and all the different formulae, and she's like, I'm trying to figure out. Like, you must have looked up 10,000 different things to try and figure out which is the right and which is the left-hand side of the bed. This is terrible.
I think I wore a hole on my patio walking up and down with my phone trying to do research. So I still don't know. I still don't know. And I might die never knowing.
And now
so what does it say about your personality?
Steve has made it even worse. What if you're lying on your stomach?
That was the other debate that came up on Reddit. Because what if you sleep on your stomach?
You're not supposed to be sleeping on your stomach, people. It hurts your back. Yeah. So wrong.
And also there's been a huge thing recently because someone on TikTok, a Californian couple, posted a video saying, this is our bedroom, and my husband and I, we don't have a set side. We swap sides whenever we want. We sleep wherever we want. And that drove people mad. People were like, you can't do that. Even a sleep expert and psychologist came on and said, that's totally disruptive to your sleep routine. Waking up and you don't know which side you're on.
I have always slept on the side the furthest from the door.
Yeah, is that like an evolutionary feature?
I don't know. I don't know what it is. So I sleep on the side of my bed that is the furthest from the door. That's
okay, but what if you have a partner in your bed? Do you sleep closer to the door to protect her?
Yeah, she will always sleep on the left. Well, then on the right, because I'm on the left, according to the Leigh-Ann rule. So then she would be close to the door. Technically, she would be in more danger.
So you still put her closer to the door.
That's not very good of me. That's horrible of me, right? That's not.
No, exactly. I remember when I was married, when we traveled, he would always sleep on the side closest to the door.
Sure.
But for me, it's where are the plugs if you're in someone's house and only have plug points on one side. I'm very practical about it. And then, so the article that I found saying that it says a lot about your personality. Psychologists say that people who opt to sleep on the left side of the bed, whichever side that is, tend to have a sunnier disposition than those who inhabit the right side of the bed. Right side sleepers lean more towards groundedness and often pre-plan for potential disasters.
Well, now all people are going to do is they're going to decide which one they prefer of those two descriptions. And they'll just say, well, I'm on that. Yeah.
It sounds like very horoscopy, Leigh-Ann.
Yeah.
Exactly. It does.
It sounds like the moon is in retrograde, so I slept on the left side. That's why I woke up with a bad...
That was a total waste of time. Thanks, Leigh-Ann. Now we're not only confused.
And you needed to feel my pain.
Oh.
I had to share it with someone. Who else am I going to share it with? That's going to listen to that shit.
You're thinking about this all day now. How do you figure out which side is the left and which side is the right?
You get inside the bed and then that's where it is.
No, but you said differently in the beginning.
Did I?
Exactly.
Yes, you said you stand and look at the bed and the left and the right.
Do you know people who would lie, like you usually have the head part of your bed against the wall, right?
Mm.
Do you know any people who are so messed up that they would sleep with their head at the foot end?
Well, remember, we used to sleep top to tail when we were little. Sometimes.
That person must be a proper head case. That's someone you hand over to Dr. Hanan straight away.
I was a particularly restless sleeper in high school, and I would often wake up like that.
What, like you just did a 180-degree turn in the middle of the night?
Yeah.
Like it's like The Exorcist in your house.
Yeah.
Okay, so then, wait. If you did a 180 turn, which side of the bed are you sleeping in?
shut up. All right, listen, I've had enough of both of you on this. You're ruining my whole day. I'm going to talk to someone who can add value to my life. And that person is Jon Foster-Pedley. He's been the dean and director of Henly Business School in Africa since 2010. He's the founder and the chair of MBA'd, which uses the energies of MBA and executive education in business schools to help SMEs and NGOs. He's also the founder of Corporate Activism, which is a movement that highlights the disastrous effects of corruption and state capture on economic development, human rights, and on individual careers, reputation, and credibility. So this guy is exactly the person we need to talk to, and not just because all of those problems I just mentioned are precisely the problems that we have in South Africa. Let me see if I can get him on here. John, are you there? He was like there just a minute ago. Now he's disappeared. Let me see. Know what's going on there. See if we can get him back on. Ryan, just maybe try and get John back on there. I don't know what he's done. Everything was working, and then suddenly
he probably heard our stupid conversation about beds.
Yeah, this is not the right crowd.
This isn't the right platform.
I don't need to talk to these idiots about anything. These people are so stupid they don't even know which side is right and which side is left. There's no way we would get an MBA from Henly Business School, right?
Right.
Left.
Left or right, yeah. What a disaster. All right. Well, I mean, I'm quite curious about what the university of the future might look like, because I keep saying a lot of this stuff is just going to be online.
Yeah.
And I think that's an obvious thing, right? But he's probably got more insights than that. Hey, John, how are you?
Hi, how you doing? Sorry, early
No
morning.
problem.
I really enjoyed that conversation, actually.
Oh,
How am I going to be able to be so witty and sharp and whatever as you guys? You know,
we were so embarrassed. We were like, oh God, this guy's going to come on and he's going to think he's suddenly been pulled into the twilight zone with a bunch of people who don't know the difference between this side of the bed and the other.
my day.
You're a very smart man. Which side of the bed is the left and which is the right? And we'll just take that as the gospel
Well,
from you.
I always struggle with this. Is it stage left or audience left? You know, which way are you looking at it?
Absolutely.
So that's the thing I was trying to work out. You know, I suppose if you, I don't know. You threw me into a headspin now. I really couldn't understand what you did.
I can see that there's going to be a department at Henly now that's going to be focusing on this for research for the next 20 years.
It might be one of those parameters that defines enormous leadership. If you did the research, you might find that 83% of executive leaders sleep on the left side of the bed or something. Yeah.
Probably.
Or maybe in the creative sector that's only that. You know.
So, John, I mean, we've been talking to you for a long time, and you really are one of the people who does think about the future, and I love having conversations about that, because that in itself is a creative process. You know, trying to imagine what sort of stuff we'll need in the future, what kinds of skills people will have to have, how you can best teach people those skills, and particularly in the context of Africa and South Africa. It must be a very exciting place to be able to apply your mind.
Well, it is. I mean, you can tell from my voice that I wasn't born in South Africa. I was born in Britain, but I've been here 30-something years. And I keep wondering why am I staying? And I cannot, I'm here now. This is my home. But there's something about it where you are continually working to something that's worthwhile. And I just found that Africa unfroze frozen bits of me, if you know what I mean. You know, and it continues to do that. And somehow it's really effective. So yeah, you're right. You're right about imagination, I think, because when we talk about stuff, you know, business and stuff, it all seems so analytical, you know, but then we talk about vision statements. And if you're going to vision something, you have to be imaginative. You have to visualize. You have to be creative. And yet everyone seems to be programmed down analytical. So everyone's sitting there in a boardroom saying, well, let's do our vision statement now. Which part of that one should we start with? Should we start in the left-hand right corner? And imagination is a characteristic that's so powerful. We should really encourage people to develop it, you know. So it's a good point.
Okay, well, let's start off with imagination, because I do think when people start a business, they have to have a vision, and that vision isn't some, you know, this is not corporate claptrap, this stuff, because you sort of have to know in what direction you're heading and what problem you're trying to solve. Because if you don't have that stuff in play, and you don't have, you know, certain values that you're going to operate by, you really are wasting your time. You're never going to, the business is never going to go anywhere, even if your idea is just to sell widgets of some kind. You still have to have a vision of what kind of a widget it is, what it's going to do, how people are going to use it in their lives, and what value it'll add to their lives. So I'm curious about this idea of imagination. Do you think that the people of 2023 who are entering tertiary education institutions like Henly, do you think they have more or less or a different kind of imagination to those people pre-internet? And the reason I'm asking is because I think the internet does a lot of work for us these days. People obviously don't read as much as they used to. Certainly not stuff that stimulates imagination. A lot of people are reading very practical things, nonfiction, that sort of stuff. And of course, the movie industry and the internet as a whole is doing a lot of the imagining for us. Even AI is doing that for us now. So I'm tending to think that maybe there's less imagination going on, but I'm pretty sure you're going to tell me the opposite is true.
I don't think so. I remember reading some time ago that were people in the 1800s more intelligent than people now, and although they, we can read on the internet as much knowledge as they read in a lifetime, and on some places, what they did was they thought, they processed, they really had to work, they dialogued quite a lot about stuff. And now what happens is that you're continually being fed by an algorithm, either visual or verbal or whatever. And yes, it stimulates you in such ways, but does it stimulate you with the constraints of that algorithm? How free are we in our thinking? And are we, with our education, producing people who are critical thinkers, who can argue? Or is the power of influence that we're dealing with, both corporate and government, and the identities that people are fighting, so strong that people can live in a sort of fantasy world rather than an imaginative world? If you this sort of dichotomy between left and right and Trump and Democrats and wherever we are in the world now, it's as if we're being fed this crazy identity we can in a cult-like way connect to. And I think you've got a point. I think imagination is free, it visualizes. But when you're working in a business, what strikes me is it's not so much I'm making a widget, which is obviously important. I'm creating something of value to people. What is it that people value? What do you do on people value what you do enormously? But what is that? What are you giving them? And that's the first point. And then there needs to be a purpose, I think, that's bigger than just making money. We're living in South Africa with the highest Gini coefficient in the world, which means there's greatest difference between rich and poor. And you can't build an economy on that. You just can't. It doesn't matter where your ideology is about, or even your morals are. Rationally, you cannot build a better South Africa with that separation. So how can you visualize a world where people get educated, get creative? You have to kind of imagine that. And then you can use your rationality to strategize your way forward. So I think imagination is something, if we don't watch out, we do lose. But our minds are full of visual pictures and verbal things. I want to talk about an article about Yuval Noah Harari brought out the other day, if we get a chance, about AI. It's such an interesting point. But maybe we can catch on that.
Well, I mean, let's talk about it now, because Yuval Noah Harari is somebody who I read and thoroughly enjoyed, but there's something very, very cynical and a little bit depressing about the way that he sees the future going, and perhaps he's spot on. He's exactly right that ultimately these machines kind of make human beings redundant, and the fact that they're able to improve upon themselves without human interaction. They make their own code more efficient. They make their own they'll eventually make their own chips that are more efficient. All of this stuff will start to happen. And then you kind of just have humans as these very primitive things that are kind of sitting in the background while the machines are doing all the interesting stuff. That's the dystopian view. What does Harari say now?
It's such an interesting thing about whether somebody is dark and depressing, or whether they're living in a sort of, whether they can visualize a reality that's kind of hard. I remember I worked for a guy who'd been adopted and was an orphan. He'd been through many foster homes, and he'd been to places in his life that were really quite tough. And when he talked, it was quite scary to listen to him, because he was opening a door to something that was scary to me, but it was also real. So I do think, with what Yuval Noah Harari was saying in this article, I think I read in Guardian, New York Times, it's up to now we've had people writing. The thing we have owned, if you like, is language. And words. We've made up our own words. We've made up our own stories. But with these latest chatbots and whatever, the language models, they're creating words and stories and pictures to us in a way that you could argue is hijacking the way we think and manage in a way that's never happened before. And I think that's one of the great dangers. Suddenly, we may have a situation where the stories, the protocols, the press, the interpretation of what's going on is being fed to us so fast that we absorb it without even knowing it, and has our own software being hijacked by this. Now, I don't think that's dystopian, because I think the upside of that is phenomenal. Nuclear power is arguably brilliant or not, and nuclear destruction is appalling. But I think we're navigating a path now that has dystopian aspects to it that are really scary, but also has amazing potentials for the upside. And it's also unavoidable. It's going to happen to us. So we really need to get to know about it. How are we going to educate people now to be good at using this stuff, to be really, really capable and masters of the use of this weapon or this tool, rather than being taken over by something that actually I think could? And that's a really interesting place we're in now.
What is it that you at Henly are doing to kind of future-proof yourselves? Because so much of education is now available online anyway. Especially there are thousands and thousands of business books written by some of the smartest people, and there is always going to be an argument that people can educate themselves without having to enroll in any kind of formal education process. Naturally, the only reason that many people do is because credentialism comes into play, and you need to have proof that you actually studied this and that you know something. And that's always going to be the single kind of firewall between self-educated people who consider themselves to be experienced or practical or whatever else and eat up all the information they can. Sometimes they spend more time on the stuff than the formal education people might. But the formal education people are always going to be taken more seriously because they've got a certificate that says, here, I spent this time at Henly and now I know something.
Well, that's so many good questions in there. So the first thing, what are we doing? For me, I mean, bring on everything when it comes to, virtual education or massified education. I think it's a phenomenal possibility that we can really get all the education we want through sources or on our phone or whatever. However, the question is, what is education, and how do we future-proof ourselves? And well, we experiment forwards all the time, so we're not perfect. Nobody is, and I think that would be a delusion. Part of education is all that knowledge, which should be massified and shared to people. But there's so much knowledge. There's just, imagine the knowledge in your studio, or my room here. I mean, in nanoseconds, it'll be full of books you would never read. Who's interpreting the knowledge? Who's making sense of it? And you have to make sense of it. That's a reasonably subjective process where you're interpreting things. You're summarizing this infinite amount of data to massive amounts of sort of information, and you interpret that into succinct jewels of intelligence, if you like, that you can use for something. Now, that interpretation, that critical thinking, is something that we really focus on because it's a gift you can have forever. Thinking about things systemically. But in the middle of all that is you, because what we have to do now in this world is police our perception, police our brains, know how to work with other people. I mean, how many times have you been in a room full of intelligent people who collectively are thinking stupidly, like many a boardroom? And how do we get people to think well together? So I think those aspects of education start getting greater and greater importance. And the more trivial aspects, if you like, and I don't mean to denigrate them, but the knowledge and whatever that we've created in the past becomes something that should be shared en masse with everybody. But we got to navigate people how to access it and how to interpret, how do you put marketing with nanotech, with, finance, with human psychology. That's the world you live in when you're working in real life. And you can't just learn in silos like so many creatures do. That silo learning, that basic learning should be massified. How you bring it together, you make sense of it, and how do you use it, and how do you use it to a purpose? That's what really matters. What is the purpose you want to use all this for? We should be activists pushing people to think of the world we want. And we're not being activists in education. If you don't watch out, we're just being journey people. You know, we're just creating stuff that people make, say, oh, I'm going to get a job. And those qualifications as well. I mean, who puts the authority behind the qualifications? It's a national authority, or it's a big brand name. You know, I mean, why don't we put authority? Why don't we do massive voting about what authority? We've got technology now, we've got blockchain. Why don't we change the way we think about what credentialized education is? We have to be so much more forward thinking. The institutions of education, if we don't watch out, have become the very thing that are stopping us learning for the real world, because there's so much vested interest into research and positions and this deep belief system we have about education. It must be governed by the seers and professors. Why should it be? You know, we know what we want. So I think we've got a great opportunity to transform education now in ways we never thought of. And there's the imagination again. You know, we get stultified by just going down the same old track of learning. You have to push people to be active and imaginative. Yes, it's dangerous, but that danger is probably the safest danger we can ever engage in, because it's going to make something worthwhile. Sorry, thank you for letting me go off my little rant there.
No, it's good, because this is why we like talking to you. Buckabantu and Leigh-Ann have probably got some questions for you too. I'll let them have a go before I climb back in, because I've still got about 10.
No, I agree with Jon. This parrot learning that we're doing is not a great way of moving us into the future. Just learning and like parroting everything that is already being created. That thought process of moving forward, that's what we need. And if you're saying a person like Henly can provide that, wow, that's impressive, because most institutions just teach you what's in all the old books and how to think and stuff. Some of the stuff is not even applicable anymore. But I don't know.
Thank you. Two things there. One is that you know, we at Henly, I refuse to let people do competitive selling. We're not going to put down any other institution, because we need so many of them so quickly that let's put our energies where it matters. Secondly, I have a parrot, and the parrot is actually continually talking to me. Yes, it's parroting stuff, but it's using that parroting words to connect with me. We have dialogues. Yes, I'm sorry, we do. So I think we denigrate parrots to our peril. They're really using the rote learning to connect. But I think there's an allegory there. I think we learn those bits of learning and we bring it together in rooms for dialogue. You know, that's what we do.
So I think sorry, Gareth. From my side, I was always interested in the education space, and that stemmed from being offered a bursary by what was then the TED, the Transvaal Education Department, when I was at school. And I went on to go into that more education-focused study, tertiary study. That didn't end up working out for me, but it's always been in the back of my mind that I would have loved to have teach or lectured, or taught rather, or lectured. And
I would like to have
teached.
That's a great place to start. People are lining up to get teached by Leigh-Ann Mole. This is good. This is start.
Yes, I can learn you about things. So I think when I was at varsity, I found it such a comfortable space, because everything felt like it felt controlled. It felt not in a bad way. It just felt like you know, the syllabuses were set in their ways, they were structured, and that all sounds kind of bad now when you think that education can be, you know, can hold you in one place and not let your imagination be free. And now it's so different. Yet I find it quite overwhelming, to like what you were talking about just now, in what you called your little rant. I actually got a bit scared and a bit anxious and a bit overwhelmed by all of that. And I don't know if I'd like to be in a position now where I'm trying to find a silo of information from everything that's out there and summarizing it into one syllabus. It would be really challenging.
Well, I think that's a really point. I mean, the idea of a syllabus is intriguing because it's pre-digested teaching. Now, that's really important. We have to do that. There's something you said that really triggers something. The idea you were feeling safe. Now, there is a real need to create a container for learning. Because if it's just random and all these people saying you've got to learn this, it's narcissistic, self-indulgent. You actually have to create an almost selfless container for learning. Because you, as an educator, you're serving people and you should be caring for them in the way you would care for yourself, to try and create the possibility for them to learn. You can't do that in random madness. But within that, on the downside of that is it can become a really kind of closed down, stultifying way of thinking. On the other end, it becomes completely anarchic and random. So somewhere in between, you have to create this container so people can learn with safety, but not too much safety.
Yeah.
Well, this is
in a world.
Part of the reason we have Leigh-Ann on the show is because she's a complete recluse who doesn't she doesn't take any chances with anything. Everything overwhelms and terrifies her, and that's just how she is. I mean, we like her for better or worse, but I feel almost that, and this is being borne out in the way that American college students are behaving at the moment, that their environment has to be so safe that it is essentially like a nursery school for their minds, where everything has got soft edges, everything's easy, it's all approachable. Nobody's going to challenge you with anything that doesn't fit into your worldview, because that might make you anxious or uncomfortable or feel unsafe. And we've churned out in the last generation or two a bunch of people who are completely and wholly unsuited to the real world and the marketplace, because they were so desperate to make them feel like they were, going to keep their adolescence going on for an extra 5 to 10 years. That's exactly what they did, and gave them no actual coping skills for the real world.
Oh, that's a good, that now there we are. So so yes, there is that argument, and I think it's a very powerful and strong one, and a lot of truth in that. What we're trying, if you want to create people ready for the real world, you can throw them in the deep end, you can give them a massive amount of, like a boot camp approach. You have casualties with that, and you can't really afford too many casualties, because if you have a belief in people, you do want to get people to move on and change. When I did my MBA in the UK, we had a weekend where we did this whole thing with the SAS and the Special Boat Service, where we were thrown into genuine boot camp and running around under quite tough conditions. I found that enormously helpful. So I think there's a real thing of how you strike a balance between the comfort of universities, governed by people who have only lived in their universities, and then preparing people for a real life. I mean, in medicine, you say you see one, do one, teach one. And by the way, to teach is to learn twice. So, Jan, if you really want to get into your studies again, start teaching, and it'd be fantastic. But there is that problem, is that we're not teaching people. We talk about fighting corruption, and I was at a conference the other day, and it was we were just about to talk this really comfortable academic model of corruption. And I said, we can't talk like this. You can't talk about ethics and corruption if you're comfortable. That day, 77 people have been burned to death in Joburg. That was that day. And we were in this conference about corruption, about to be lured into this academic kind of stuff. You can't do that. You've got to live with the pain of reality. And that is such an important point of what we're doing. How do you get people into real life understands that you're going to have to deal with the things that are most demonic and terrible, as well as most beautiful in your life, but you've got to learn to cope with it. And so when I visited China recently, I was so fascinated, because young people of 25 will be given charge of a town as big as Joburg, and when they're 30, they're responsible for planning a city, as big as Cairo almost. And so they're apprenticed into doing things tough in the real world, while they have a learning process around them, but this is both strict on one side but reflective on the other. And I'm a great believer in trying to link education to real world things. So one of the things we try and do at Henly, for example, and many other people do it, is that we're trying to get people to think of who they are, and then try things out in the real world, and then confront them with difficult things. Like we use virtual reality, for example, we take a film with some context, and everyone slaps on the goggles, and we try and live through that reality to shift the learning from classroom as close as reality as possible. But there are some things you can only ever do for the first time that you can't really rehearse, but you can prepare people to think, interpret, and manage themselves in those contexts. And we're not doing enough of that. We think education, quite rightly, as you said earlier, is something about just sucking up knowledge. It's not. It's much more important than that.
How about this? And that's just because we've only got 5 or so minutes left. And the most controversial subject in business at the moment is probably this ESG stuff, the environment, sustainability, governance, which is being pushed down on companies all over the world by the politicians. It's a way for politics to finally gain some kind of purchase on the way that private businesses operate. And you can see it going that direction. You can also see these diversity, equity, inclusion parameters that are put into place, quota systems, all of the stuff that is essentially political, that is now entering the realm of private business in the free market. Do you think that this is ultimately a good thing, a bad thing, or just something that we're going to have to cope with? Because it seems to me that it is adding very little value to the overall offering from business.
Okay, that's what a good question. Okay, so I was brought up in nature. I love nature. I can see it being destroyed around me. I can see consequence of corporate action going on when the people sign off when KPMG signed off the audits, which proved in the end wrong. It destroyed that company. So the first thing is, are there things we need to deal with? Of course there are. There are massive things. Is it possible for people to hijack those things for another form of political control? Absolutely, is all the way. Why is latest COP being run by an oil sheikh, for example? That's a dilemma. But the issue is that when you proceduralize anything, it becomes very easy to greenwash, to show you're doing stuff, and to get everyone going on that line. I totally get that. But somehow, and the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals, the UN SDGs as well, all of those things become a template for management, and everyone's clicking off and signing. The idea is that you're going to be making progress. But the question at the end there, has the dial moved? Has it made a difference? You know, business isn't just about profit. That is the old Milton Friedman approach to business, shareholder management of business. And what happens when you mess up your community and the environment, when you do that, as businesses always do? Well, he called those externalities that government must look after. Government can't look after those things. It can't even understand them. And it's hijacked anyway.
John, just because government can't do something, and in this country they can do very little that's of value, doesn't mean that business has to constantly step in and do it for them.
Well, it shouldn't, should it? But if you're living in a system where poverty is getting worse and people aren't being educated and you're not getting the talent you need to build your businesses, and people in their own minds are feeling destroyed and underconfident, whatever, somebody's got to step in. And if you're self-interested and the government can't do it, we have to pressure government to do it. At the end of the day, you've got to do something yourself because you need that talent. You have to train and we can't let the world be destroyed around us. So everybody has a bit of skin in the game here, I would argue, but I'd love to argue this one. Yeah.
I mean, I think that we've got to get into like Hayek and how he sees the free market solving all the problems, because essentially in this country we've already seen that happen. Government have done absolutely nothing to add value to business in this country. In fact, all they've done is retard it and minimize the effectiveness of it, and in fact place obstacles in its way in any shape, way, or form that you'd like to look at it. They have not made the bottom line grow. They've not created employment. They've not created opportunity. They've put legislation and red tape around everything, which makes it that much harder for small businesses to even start. And they've protected large corporations because they're in cahoots with them. So for the average creative thinker, small or medium-sized business entrepreneur type person, this environment is not a very favorable one. I mean, despite the fact that we've got tons of problems that are desperate to be solved and people need solutions to those problems, the really creative people are looking at this going, well, is this necessarily the right environment? Yeah, is this the environment worth starting something like that in? Or am I going to be constantly fending off the privations of government?
I think you are going to be constantly fending off. I mean, I remember Norman Adamy, who ran SAB, had this little mantra, which was make reality your friend. And I've always remembered that. What is the reality? How you describe it is a part of the reality. However, how long can we wait? We have to change what we do with government, but we also have to act now. So I can't afford. I have a kid going to university now. My kids told me, I don't think we'll be alive by the time we're 40 or 50 because of the climate, etc. Now they may be right or wrong. The fact that they feel that triggered me enormously and made me say, I'm going to try and do something about this. And it's this kind of hopelessness of the activist. You have to do something, even though you might not win. You know, I always think of those army ants. You know how they go and they go and they cross a stream and they make a raft. Most of them get drowned on the way, but the activists, some of you get drowned on the way, you know.
This worries me enormously, this idea that we must act and do something even if it's not going to solve the problem. Did COVID not teach us that that's a terrible way to go about things?
Well, this is interesting because I think you've got a perspective on that, which I'd have to ask more about to understand how you think about that.
Well,
but
I mean,
it
is an unavoidable conclusion of the way that our government responded to COVID, that it affected our economy in a long form and a complicated and mostly disruptive state. It put many people out of business. I don't think we've fully recovered. Our economy is still in the doldrums as a result directly of not COVID, but the decisions our government decided to put into play as a result of COVID. And we can see that they put the economy on hold, which just does not work. You can't switch it on and switch it off. I mean, switch it off and then switch it on again.
I was caught really in a dilemma on this because on one hand, you're absolutely right. On the other hand, of 80 people we had employed there, they lost 50 of their close family members until the vaccinations came. And so, no, I know, but what I'm trying to say is that the decision on public health versus business health is an incredibly difficult. As you will read, if you read what Boris Johnson did, we read what went on in Downing Street with Cummings and all the people at that time. It's the most demonic dilemma people felt in. And I think we look back and we're learning deep lessons. I think all of us would agree that things would have been done far, far better. And I think that's something
they didn't even manage to save any lives on the health front. That's not a particularly useful argument either. Anyway, look, I mean, I love talking to you about this stuff because you really do think deeply about it. And I think that you are trying at Henly to make people think creatively and in an original way about the way that things could be better positioned. I think there's a lot of this alarmism that's been going on, people trying to kind of frighten young people, especially, frighten them into the idea that there's an existential crisis coming. They're not at all, by the way, young people are not at all concerned about the inevitability of war in the Middle East, but they're convinced completely that, you know, the birds are going to be falling out of the sky and that the climate's going to destroy us and we're going to destroy it. And that seems to me to be one of those paradigms that you put into play when you have a problem that actually can't be solved. It means that you have an eternal battle with that problem. And when you don't have a way to fix things and you put like paper tigers up all over the place, you're going to be paranoid and afraid the whole time.
I think like not knowing which side of the bed is the left or the right.
Right. Exactly.
Thanks for this. This is really, it's been a fantastic discussion. I'd love to continue with it. I feel like arguing so many of those points, and they're such important points. So I really, really appreciate it. It's absolutely super. Yeah.
Well, it's always good to talk to you, and thank you for the good work that you're doing and the number of graduates that you're putting out there into the world, many of whom are making an active and really powerful difference to South Africa and our economy, which I think is just absolutely amazing. So good for you.
I see Leigh-Ann hasn't started yet, but you know, time to start.
Absolutely.
Leigh-Ann will she'll soon be teaching and lecturing. That's what she really wants to do, I can tell.
Yeah, I'd love that.
A good one. All right, Jon, thank you so much. Jon Foster-Pedley at Henly Business School. And I'm afraid we're out of time, guys. I would have liked to continue this conversation for another half hour or so, but that's all we got for you today. We'll see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. Cheers. Bye-bye.